back with Jolana Pettifer here on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson, and we are talking decorating this morning and kitchen renovations. So let's talk about the layout of a kitchen, because I think that's a really important thing. Are there any rules that you can't put the fridge beside the stove or the stove beside the sink and the dishwasher?
It really depends on the architecture of the home, and it depends on the layout that you are working with. Every single home is different. Some clients want all their appliances all on one wall. Other people want their appliances to do our triangle. So really, truly, Bren, it depends on your room, the size of the room, the height of the room. There's so many things that come into play.
Okay.
And this is where you sit down with a really reputable kitchen cabinetry company and a designer. They are worth their weight in gold because they are going to deal with all those issues. Do you want a face frame? Do you want antique? Do you want it painted? Do you want it wood? I mean, the questions are on and on and on, and it seems like you are never going to get to the end because there are so many questions. But the reason we ask so many questions is we want to make sure we get it right for you. So yeah, the kitchen layout is very important. Well, a lot of people are still doing the double wall ovens and the microwave combination because it kind of keeps all your appliances all together.
Those kind, right?
Right,
the
those
ones.
kinds. Yeah, the cooking appliances I'm talking about. Yeah. So it is definitely a nice way to go to keep it all very uniform looking. Some people like that industrial look, so they go stainless on everything.
Yeah.
Other people like the panel fronts on their dishwashers. They're
integrated. I think they call it.
That's exactly. So depending on what your look is, you can create the perfect kitchen for sure. Another big one is drawers versus doors, because doors usually have a shelf. Yeah, it's adjustable, but I would like to hear from one person, just one person that has actually ever adjusted their drawers once it's been in place. So most people don't. You end up losing what's in the very back side of your cabinet, whereas a drawer, yes, the argument is you lose a little bit of space where your hinges are and your actual box for your drawer, but you have the full usage of your drawers. There are pullouts available. There are corners. There
you know what? That pullout is bar none the best thing. And I wish I had done it on more. I did it on one specific set of what was going to be drawers or cupboards. Yep. And I should have done it on more. It's just fantastic to be able to pull that whole thing out. You can get to the back. Nothing ever, I mean, stuff falls down, but what the heck. But you can always see what's there. And especially if people are aging in place. Big shout out to Pam Hope in town here, who has a business called Aging in Place. And these are the things that they look at for seniors. Because a senior with mobility issues can't get down and get to the back of their cupboard. So if that cupboard pulls out, then they have a better chance of being able to see what's at the back there.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you should say that, because we are planning on being in this house for another 15, 20 years. So the decisions that we have made, we're knowing that this is not going to be sold in a year or two.
Right.
And we are going to be living there. So we took a lot of time deciding from our appliances. I'll be talking a little bit about sinks, etc. I mean, really take the time to make your decisions. And as I said at the very beginning, think about what does not work for you in the layout that you have now.
But I think for a lot of people, it's hard to know what doesn't work because you've never seen it before. For example, I remember going with you to one of the big kitchen or bathroom places where they have all the fixtures and everything and the sinks.
Yeah.
And some of these sinks are gorgeous.
Yeah, Klein International. Yeah.
And then when I was leaning over the sink, I realized, wow, it's really deep. And although that has a lot of practical value for me, that's going to really hurt my back because my back's not the best at the best of days. But to be leaning over like that's probably not a good thing for me.
Well, do you remember the big craze with the single sinks?
Yeah, massive single sinks.
They're awesome, but I guess you could turn your water on, have a cup of coffee, sit down, and come back.
You're filling a bathtub.
You're filling a bathtub.
And my friend got one of those at the cottage, the one that looks like a figure 8.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a really cool design. For a design feature, it's absolutely stunning.
And there are some
she
kitchens.
Said she hates it because it looks gorgeous, but she said it's like filling a bathtub.
I know, she uses a bowl.
She has a plastic
I know she does.
basin that she puts inside the sink.
We just put in a 6-foot long one into an island, which is spectacular, but it was totally understood. Now what's really neat, some of them actually afford you like cutting boards, so it's not a full sink all the time. There's different heights. So they've come a long way from years ago.
Designed for the sake of design.
Designed for the sake of design, and in this case it actually is part of the actual eye candy of the actual kitchen. And it was decided that this was 100% what they wanted, so that's what went in. So yeah. I mean,
and again, this is why you need a designer. Aging in place. If you're aging in place, do you want to be carrying a pasta pot full of water from the sink on one side of your kitchen all the way over to the stove? Or would you like one of those little faucets that goes right beside the stove where it allows you to fill up a pot, you know?
It's funny because the jury is out on that. The people who have them, I bet you 50% love them, 50% hate them. So again, speak
people
to
don't
someone.
use them.
Yeah, go on the internet, read reviews on them. Is it something, because you're still going to have to take that pot off of your stove to get it over to the sink. So I mean, you are saving it maybe at the one end, but you're certainly not saving it at the other. So and it is a big cost to do it.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap. The other thing I always say too is when you're starting to look for your hoods, if you are a cook, for goodness sakes, make sure you get really, really good ventilation. So venti-hoods are one of my personal favorites, but just understand what you're getting.
Right. And I tell you, one of the things that I like the best, Sean, from school, when we had the kids at school, I mentioned that we were doing a kitchen reno. She said, make sure you get the kick start for the central vac. It goes right on the floor. You just kick it and it turns it on, and you can sweep your kitchen into that spot. I'd never heard of it. And when I researched it, oh my goodness, it's one of my favorite things in the kitchen.
Yeah, because you don't have to haul out your...
No, you just kick it open and sweep the little crumbs into that spot, and it sucks them all in. I don't even know what you call it, but it sure is a cool little feature.
Yeah. So again, just know that there's lots and lots available out there.
Yep. And it does pay to do your homework.
Yeah.
All right. So what else have you got going? After you decided on the flooring, did you choose a nice floor that was?
We did. So again, lots of people are still on the side of hardwood versus porcelain floor.
Right.
We chose a porcelain simply because we have 125-year-old red pine floors in the dining room and the living room that are 2 3/4 inches thick that we were not about to rip out and change. So we went with a beautiful rectified edge, which means your grout joints will be pretty much seamless. They're as tight as you can get them. Once they're grouted, it looks like it's like one big, huge slab.
Wow.
Yeah, so there are different sizes available now. We always say just double check with your tilers, because you can get them 36 by 36, 24 by 48. Like, there are really big tiles available. But there are some spaces where you are going to be doing an awful lot of prep work in order to be facilitating such a long piece. The hardwood today, there are tile floors that look like hardwood. And we have several that we use, which are like, people walk in and they assume it is hardwood. It is incredible. So again, take your time, do your research, make sure that they look realistic, because some of them are stamped, and as soon as you see them, you know they're fake. Number one, they're short lengths. They're like 3 feet lengths. You want to get as long as you can. And if you really want it to replicate like a hardwood floor, the porcelain tiles, you can even get them in 8 and 16 inches width. And then you do like a 50-50 spread with it, and it looks incredible. So it's like a tile layout.
Now, you can't have a heated wood floor, can you?
No. But this is where, and actually it's funny because I have it here, porcelain. If you want to do your heated flooring, then of course you can do your heated flooring. Now, the argument is that a wood floor is not as cold as a porcelain floor to begin with. So,
but in a kitchen, as I have found, wood
leaks.
is not water family,
No,
not
it's
water
not.
friendly. So you
It's
have a
not.
leak, and your hardwood floors are destroyed.
Most of the finishes today are resilient to a certain point with water.
They are.
But if you don't, if the sink leaks overnight, then you're replacing your floor.
Yeah.
So those are definitely things that you have to think about. So we've kind of talked a little bit about kitchen layout, because that is one of the first things you should do. Everything else is going to kind of come as a result of what your layout is going to be. So lighting layout, plumbing. Do you want a single sink, double sink, large sink, smaller sink, porcelain sink, farmer sink? I mean, it goes on and on and on. But that, even though that sounds like a lot to consider, when you think of what your layout is going to be from your the style of your door fronts, are you going to do the face frame? Are you going to do plain fronts? Are you going to do traditional? There's so many options. Are you going to do the shaker style, double shaker style? Those all help you in the next phase of the selecting. So, for example, do you want the countertops? Do you want granite? Do you want quartzite? Do you want quartz? If you're doing more of a country kitchen, well, the granites are still a beautiful, beautiful option. You just have to be a little bit careful with them. Now, if you go honed, it's a lot more resilient than if you go polished, because you are going to have to seal it. But the sealers today are so much better than they were years ago. Quartzite is magnificent, very expensive, but if you can afford to put that into your budget, they are absolutely stunning. Quartz, the companies today, there are incredible options. Years ago, the quartz were sort of, today, in some cases, it's hard to tell whether it's quartz or whether it is the real thing. So those are wonderful options that have come along.
Yeah.
If you want a more modern kitchen, you may want your countertops and your backsplash to be all the same. In our case, we're actually doing a herringbone because, again, the house is 125 years old, and I wanted to maintain the integrity of the original architecture.
Right.
So to me, that's something that's very exciting. Lighting, choosing your lighting. My goodness, there are so many options out there. So again, once you kind of have your direction in your cabinetry, the lighting will make more sense to you. Do you want functional light? Do you want down light? Do you want it to kind of go all over? Do you want glass? Do you want metal?
Those California lit ceilings, those are kind of passe, are they not?
Way passe. We're ripping those out left, right, and center. Absolutely.
Hear that, Jack? Because my husband really loves those. He thinks they're fantastic because he likes a lot of light. So I
but
said
today with the LED,
yeah, you can get a lot of light. We have
goodness
pot
gracious,
lights, and
yeah.
we have great luck with them, except that they all burn out at the same time. But other than that, they're terrific, and you can direct the light where you need it,
Absolutely.
which I think is really important. If I'm where my prep sink is, that's where I need my light. I don't need it over by the coffee maker. You just press go.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't need to see it. But boy, on that prep sink, I need to be seeing what I'm doing, and I like to have my light there. So,
and then, of course, after you've kind of got all that figured out, you're going to have all your hardware selections. Well, I'm going gold because gold has always been my favorite all these years. So there's gold, there's silver, there's chrome, there's stainless, there's blah, blah, nickel. You can go on and on and on.
Some of it's shiny and some of it's matte and some of it's, and then there's the styles. Some look like old water troughs, some like this and that and the other. It's really, there's so much.
There are so much, but I promise you, it's kind of like, and I'm speaking more to the ladies here, it's kind of like when you go to buy your wedding dress. When you see it, you will know. You will know because one is going to be too shiny, too dull, not long enough, there's so many other features that come into play. But you will know once you find your handles. And thank goodness there's a beautiful selection to choose from.
And the faucet itself, and whether it's high and comes over, whether it has a wand and you can wash your dishes. I love the wand.
Is it touchless? Is it? I mean, there's so many different ones on the market.
Oh, Jack came home with a faucet once, the one that you tap.
I know there is positive and negative feedback to everything. You just have to know what your lifestyle is.
Word of mouth. Ask your friends.
Yes, 100%.
If you know someone who's just done a kitchen reno, ask them about it. Don't feel afraid to say, I'm thinking of doing a kitchen reno. What do you recommend? Because your friends often have some really good ideas that they can pass along, or some suggestions that they wish they had done now that theirs is finished. You know, I know somebody who got that beautiful fixture. It looks amazing, where it doesn't have a top of the fixture, and you see the water run along the fixture and then come down, and it sounds wonderful.
It's always dirty, I know.
It's always
water
dirty.
stained.
You can't get it clean no matter what you do.
I know.
And she finds it very frustrating, but it was beautiful when she saw it. So it's good to look around.
Develop, you know what they put on glass where the water beads off?
Yes.
If I could come up with a finish that doesn't wear off, or again in some way jeopardizes the finish, oh my gosh, you and I could be gazillionaires, because that is the biggest complaint, that you sometimes you can't get style with your function, right? So, and that is actually one perfect example, the trough style.
Right. And for me, I would never have that trough style in my kitchen, because I like to have the wand.
Well,
I like to
even
be
in the
able
bathroom.
to pull
Every
it
time
off.
someone goes to the bathroom, you'd be running in there with a paper towel just to make sure there's no water stains for the next person.
Or you don't, and you just put up with it. Anyway.
Absolutely.
So these are the things we can learn from each other. We are a wealth of information with ourselves, right?
Yeah, we are. And again, you know what you like when you see it. We are all individual. We all have very unique tastes, and our job as contractors and designers is to listen to you and make this absolutely your dream, and hopefully you'll enjoy it for many, many, many years to come. So yeah, you just have to be open to some possibilities. Sometimes we have you think about things that are outside the box, but we do that for a reason, because you've hired us, because you haven't been able to come up with the ideas, for example.
Right.
Actually, what we're doing in our kitchen, which is very unique, we're actually doing some banquette seating as opposed to having chairs all the way around, because I always wanted to gain just a little bit of extra space. I know you know my kitchen, where the windows are, the little alcove there.
Yep.
So by doing the bench seating, we can actually push that table over
A little bit more.
an extra, quite a bit. So we're thinking down the road, you've got boyfriends, girlfriends, grandkids possibly, who knows. We want to be able to sit in our kitchen and enjoy family time. We don't always want to be going into the dining room to have it. So again, that was very much part of our thought process and planning as we were going into it. On my island, I did all drawers, because I can get way more things into my drawers than I can into cabinets, like we talked about earlier. We had the opportunity where we have a fairly deep alcove because of the nature of our renovation 25 years ago, where I'm going super deep with my drawers, because that's where I'm going to put all my appliances. So again, this time around, I really did think long and hard. I wanted some display, but I didn't want all glass all the way around the top, because I know I wasn't going to have that much stuff to put into it. But I do have some lovely items that I know I can display. So we've got some lit areas behind glass and fretwork. So I can actually show off some of my pieces now.
Terrific.
So yeah.
What color are you going to paint it?
So I'm doing a navy island. So the island is called Hale Navy.
That's the stone is navy?
Oh, the Hale Navy is the paint color. I'm doing painted island. And the cabinet color is actually going to be simply white. And I am doing a Cortex product, which is number 4100 Calcutta Vogue, which looks like, well, as the name suggests, a Calcutta marble. But it's not. It's a quartz. So I know it's going to be very serviceable, and it's white and gray. And my floors are, when you walk in, they give you that sort of almost mottled feeling. It's incredible what they can do with tiles, and they're variations of a warm gray.
Nice.
So very, very excited for everything to come together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we live in our home. So I didn't want people to feel they had to take their shoes off. Like, of course, they're going to be, they'll brush them off when they walk into the house. But we did not want to have a kitchen where people were afraid to come in and just sit, relax, and enjoy and, enjoy each other's company. So.
There you go.
That's
a big consideration, I think. It's a really big thing to think about. There are a lot of people, I know a family who just moved into a gorgeous new build, and it's got a massive kitchen. And this lady says to me, I don't know what I'm going to do with this kitchen. I'm never in the kitchen. I'm just not a person who cooks, and we don't sit here. So I don't know, a big wasted space for us. I think it was why'd you buy the house, but whatever.
And again, there's ways to deal with that kind of client too. You come up with alternative ideas. Like in one client's same thing, we did a seating of 4 chairs in an area where it would have been a big kitchen table. And it became one of her favorite places to go because it was off of the kitchen. So if she was cooking, her husband could enjoy. If he was cooking, she could just sit there. And we did them as swivel chairs so you could turn around, so you could direct your outside to the kitchen, or if there were lots of people, again, it was just serviceable. We did more of a bar seating, so more of an island seating at counter height. So the seating was there, but it was not a priority to have an actual dining option in the kitchen because they had a very large harvest table in the dining room. So if they ever had a big group, well, that's where they would eat, and they quite enjoy just the two of them eating at a counter. So it's not for everyone, but for someone it is.
Yeah. I did have one more question from a listener, and that is, how do you deal with electrical outlets on a center island? They're doing a kitchen reno. She's putting in a big center island, and she wants...
In fact, you have to now.
Electrical.
Code will tell you have to have two... based on a certain size. So 0 issue, 100% doable. You can hide it into a column. It can be hidden into the design of her island. They come in different colors.
She doesn't want it where it goes underneath the island, apparently, because she doesn't want a cord wrapping around the island where someone's going to catch it and pull the appliance off.
So she wants the pop-up?
She doesn't know what's available.
Yeah, there is a pop-up option, but that does take up quite a bit of space underneath the counter. So depending on if she has room to spare. And the other thing I always caution about, if you do the pop-ups, you have to be very careful of crumbs because they can gum up if they're not cleaned and vacuumed properly.
So this is a electrical outlet that's going to pop up.
It pops up and you can plug everything into...
Pops up out of the counter.
Yeah, pops
What
up
about water then in that
out of
case?
the counter.
If you spill
Well, it can't
something?
be close to the sink.
But if you have a spill, if someone knocks over a drink or something?
Well, that can't be close to a sink. And it pops up. So even if the water does spill, it's not going to go into, it's not going to hit the electrical.
Okay.
It comes up and pops up. You actually push it, pull it up, so you end up, we did it in a closet where it was part of the vanity space. So our client could plug in her hair dryer, her blow dryer, and whatever else she needed to plug in.
Right.
So it came up from the counter because we did not want to, again, jeopardize the design by putting plugs into a mirror because the entire vanity space was full-on mirror. So we tucked it over to the right-hand facing side, and it tucks away when it's not needed, and it is pulled out when you need it for every day.
Wow.
So there are lots of options, but you have to be careful of crumbs. So, no one is ever going to, and it can't be near water. Like, you can't be putting it right beside water,
the sink, right?
Yeah, so, and there are rules. Your contractor, again, they are worth their weight in gold. They will let you know if they feel that your renovation needs to pull a permit. And also the kitchen designer is not going to put an outlet close to your sink, like, if you know what I'm saying. So, yeah, all those kinds of things are taken into consideration when a design is being planned out for you. And the only other thing I can tell you is you cannot hurt our feelings. So
tell it the way it is.
Yes. If there is something on that kitchen plan that isn't sitting with you, it's okay to say, I hate that. Or I love that, or I'm not sure about that, or what are my options, or can I do this, or can I do that?
Don't send me to the corner to do my dishes.
There you go. So do not ever be afraid to voice your opinion. We may sometimes come back with, we understand your concern. However, if we do that, then you have to compromise over here. So ultimately, it's still up to you to make that decision.
But at least you'll make it knowing what.
But at least you will make it knowing. Yeah, you'll have all the reasons, the pros and the cons.
That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're out of time. As usual, it goes by so quickly here on
goodness.
Fresh Waves. Thanks so much for coming in, Jolana. We might actually have to do renovations part 2 because there are other things that we'd like to talk about.
There are
and
lots.
We're going to be talking about flooring. We're going to be talking about renovating your basement because a lot of people on the new builds, they don't go with the renovated basement, and
That's
you wait
right.
a few years until your life changes, and a time when you're able to stop the kids from playing hockey and use the basement for something else.
Absolutely. And again, there are so many options for flooring.
So we've
got
got lots of great stuff coming up here in 2020. So do stay tuned to Fresh Waves for all kinds of decorating adventures with Jolana Pettifer.
Absolutely. And hoping everyone has a wonderful, wonderful year this year. So 2020, I understand, is going to be a great year.
Year of perfect vision. There you go. Jolana, we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Jason, thanks for all your help behind the board.
Thanks, Jay.
Everyone have a wonderful day. You've been listening to Fresh Waves.